I'm subscribed to a bunch of different vegan company mailing lists, email lists for news about upcoming products, that type of thing. And usually that's the type of email I get, or maybe like coupons that are available. But sometimes I get something a little bit different, like this one from Beyond Meat. The truth about processed foods, with the stupid eyeball. I don't know why I hate that emoji. It just gives the like, ooh, spill the tea. Spill the tea. Anyway, it's a blog post on the Beyond Meat website about a recent study on processed foods and multi-morbidity, which is when you have 2 or more chronic diseases, right? So you have like type 2 diabetes and cancer. Apparently, researchers found a link between having 2 or more chronic diseases and animal-based processed foods, but not plant-based ones. We now understand the ultra-processed foods, UPFs, are harmful to our health when they include high levels of saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars, or when nutritional benefits, for example, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals, are stripped away. We're proud to say this is not the case for Beyond Meat. Our products are low in saturated fat, protein-packed, and have 0 milligrams of cholesterol. So if you're familiar with me and my channel, you might be expecting a positive, like supportive response. But, well, you saw the title, although I don't know what I'm going to title this. Point is, I have some criticisms. While I agree that not all processed foods, including ultra-processed foods, are created equal, I'll talk about that more in a minute, I can also read. And I read the study. This is not what the study says. And also, the relevance to Beyond Meat specifically, questionable. Consumption of ultra-processed foods and risk of multimorbidity of cancer and cardiometabolic diseases, a multinational cohort study, is the actual study. It's based on EPIC, the EPIC data. EPIC stands for European Prospective Investigation into Cancer and Nutrition. It's an ongoing study that began in the early 90s, so 3 decades ago. It includes tons of data from weight to dietary habits. Here's an example EPIC food frequency questionnaire. You can see it's pretty detailed, asking how often you ate certain items within the last year. So in this study we're talking about now, they used this food frequency questionnaire data from 7 of the 10 countries within the EPIC study, more than 265,000 participants total, as well as info on incidence of cancer, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. The point was to see if there is an association between multimorbidity, again, having more than one of these 3 chronic diseases, and ultra-processed foods in general, or specific processed foods. I think they have 9 different categories, including plant-based, which breaks down into meat and dairy alternatives. As Beyond Meat told us, the researchers found an association between higher intake of animal-based ultra-processed foods and multimorbidity. But they did not find an association with plant-based foods, ultra-processed plant-based foods. They also found an inverse correlation with processed breads and cereals. So those actually lowered the risk for multimorbidity. Talk about that more in a minute too. So according to Beyond Meat, the reason some ultra-processed foods are harmful is because of saturated fat, sodium, and added sugar, and or lack of nutrients. While the researchers do acknowledge that consumption of UPFs does often go along with just a poor diet in general, this isn't really their conclusion. I mean, it can't be, given that they also found no association with sweets, like desserts, pretty sure those are full of sugar, and salty snacks, full of salt. If added sugar and salt were really the problem, we would expect there to be a positive correlation there with sweets and salty snacks. We would expect higher rates of multimorbidity from those analyses. And while yes, they did find a link with animal-based foods, again, these are very processed animal-based foods, specifically processed meat and processed cheese. So this association could be due to other things, right? Sodium nitrate, compounds, HCAs produced with high heat cooking, rather than the saturated fat. And finally, while Beyond Meat is low in sugar and relatively low in saturated fat, it ain't low in salt. Funny, they didn't mention that part. Remember when I said the EPIC study began in the 90s? Yeah, all of this data, these food frequency questionnaires, comes from the 90s. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that number 1, Beyond Burger did not exist then, and number 2, things were a lot different for vegans and vegetarians 30 years ago. Not only was it harder to find basic vegan staples like tofu, but the few mock meats and cheeses that did exist were relegated to health food stores, if you could even find them there. Here's a really cool list I stumbled upon of 90s vegetarian food, and it is specific to the UK. I'm betting that most of this data comes from the UK specifically, given that that's where much of the epic vegan and vegetarian data comes from, and probably most of the people eating these foods were vegan, vegetarian. Anyway, let's have a look. So sauce mix, and bean feast. I do love bean feast. What a fantastic name. These are dry protein packets that you mix with water to make like a plant-based ground. So kind of a TVP type thing. It looks like they were mostly soy, wheat, and oil, a mix of palm and sunflower. Nut luncheon. It's peanuts in a can. It's peanuts, salt, and water. Canned peanut-based stodge. The whole thing comes out of the can in a lump with one dull thud. What was that picture I saw where someone just dumped a can of refried beans like onto a tortilla? You can see like the lines, the rings from the can. That's what vegans eat. More meat in a can. This is from Taiwan. It's wheat and soy. Corn burgers, which contain a lot of egg. Linda McCartney sausages, sunflower mince, and of course we can't forget about TVP and soy chunks, which is TVP. Most of these are soy/wheat. They're low fat, or if they're not low fat, they have a mix of palm and sunflower oil. Remember, this is the 90s when low fat was like still a thing, right? And many of the vegan products were catering to that. They were trying to be low fat, aka healthier. Beyond Meat, on the other hand, is pea protein, canola oil, coconut oil. It's very high in fat. It's a bit different. And what about dairy alternatives, which again, the plant-based processed foods subgroup does include meat alternatives and dairy substitutes. In the UK, they had Cheesley and Sheesh. Terrific names, but by all accounts, these were not easy to find. Just as a little anecdote, I guess, I went vegan in the early-ish 2000s in the US, not in the UK. But vegan cheese, I mean, the one vegetarian cheese that they had at my grocery store was the Go Veg one, the casein one. So I would not be surprised if the vast majority of foods in this category, in the dairy category, are like soy milk, maybe rice milk, and soy yogurt. It would have been great if there were a more detailed breakdown of the plant-based processed foods category, but there isn't, right? The mock meats, the cheeses, the soy milk, they all get lumped together. So maybe the lack of association with plant-based foods and multimorbidity isn't due to the Beyond Meat like mock meats, but due to the healthier processed foods, right? The soy milk. To be clear, I think Beyond Burger is reasonably healthy, right? It could be lower in coconut oil, but it's still mostly pea protein and canola oil. It's a pretty healthy mock meat. I have a problem with trying to justify your product using a study that uses data decades prior to the invention of your product, and the products that are referenced are reasonably different from yours. I don't know, man. It's kind of bullshit. The following isn't a criticism of Beyond Meat, and it's not even a criticism of this study. It's more a criticism of the way processed foods are classified within the study, and they didn't create this. It's called NOVA. It's a common way to classify processed foods going back to 2016. There are 4 groups. The 4th group is the ultra-processed one, the one the researchers focused on. Ultra-processed foods are industrial formulations made entirely or mostly from substances extracted from foods, oils, fats, sugar, starch, and protein, derived from food constituents, hydrogenated fats, and modified starch, or synthesized in laboratories from food substrates or other organic sources, flavor enhancers, colors, and several food additives used to make the product hyper-palatable. This includes bread, and not just white bread, but sliced whole wheat bread is an ultra-processed food. Unless it's freshly made and unpackaged, it goes in group 4, which means that this breads and cereals category includes both this and this, which is just stupid. Whole wheat bread that has fiber and other nutrients should not be in the same group as Fruit Loops and potato chips and ice cream. And this might explain why the bread category ranked best. Slightly best. I mean, none of these results were particularly meaningful. A couple things I like about the study. They do acknowledge the datedness of the data, that it's 30 years old, and they try to factor this into their analyses, which is pretty cool. They also tried to control for the overall health of the diet. Again, if you're eating lots of potato chips and ice cream, what else are you eating, right? And it can go the other way. If you're eating lots of processed plant-based foods, there's a good chance you're eating more fruits and vegetables than the average person. They did this by using the Mediterranean diet score, or a modified version of the Mediterranean diet score that I think includes nuts and seeds, which is good, but it also docks you for not eating fish. But otherwise, your average vegan would do pretty well on this. In other words, they did their best to control for this diet confounder, right? Like vegans eating healthier overall and then also eating these processed foods. They did their best to control for this, and they still found no association between plant-based processed foods and multimorbidity, which really isn't surprising. Even if you eat a lot of bean feast, what in that would increase your risk for cancer or type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular disease? Something having less nutrients or even being devoid of nutrients doesn't mean it's going to contribute to a chronic disease. I just keep thinking of the silence brand or shut up brand. I think it's silence brand meme that I saw all the time on Twitter when the Wendy's and the McDonald's and the fucking Funyuns and whatever were like trying to be funny, and it was just kind of cringe. And then that meme came about, and I love it, and I can't help but think about it with something like this. Again, I have no problem with Beyond Meat as a product. I have some in my fridge right now, actually. Oh my God, how long has it been in there? Oh shit, it's not in the freezer. Anyway, I have defended mock meats, including Beyond Meat, on this channel before. You can't, I don't know, man, you can't do this. But anyway, the study itself is pretty decent. I mean, again, you've got a huge population. I think ultimately it tells us what we already know, right? Like probably that fiber is pretty good. Lots of studies have found an inverse correlation between fiber consumption and various diseases. The more fiber you consume, the lower your risk for colorectal cancer, etc. So that's not really shocking at all. And yeah, processed meats, yeah, we know they're bad. No one's getting cancer from nut luncheon. From peanuts in a can. My cereal comes in a can. What was that from?
Our cereal comes in a can.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I would love to know your thoughts on this. And I don't know, while I was recording it, I was like, maybe this isn't such a big deal. That's the worst, when you put work into something and then realize and maybe it's stupid. Oh man. The number of videos, the number of scripts, really. Most of the time I don't get to the recording phase, but I have done that before and I've thrown away footage, pages upon pages of stuff I've written and then gone, nah, I'd probably have like 50 more videos on this channel. And who knows, maybe they were good. Maybe they were worth posting. Anyway, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you so much to my patrons and my members here on YouTube. Thank you for supporting the channel. I do post 2 exclusive videos on Patreon and over here a month for tier 2 and tier 3 members. The first one is a vlog. The second one is a controversial type thing that's unrelated to veganism. The last one I did was on the chickenpox vaccine. This next one might be on something kind of trendy right now. I'm not sure yet. Thank you again. New video soon. Maybe. I don't know what I'm gonna do actually, so I don't know. I don't know when it'll be. Oh yeah, this tube food. I didn't include this because it's not like a mock meat or a dairy thing. It's just like a paste, I guess, that you put on like crackers. I didn't think anything of this until my American friend visited and found the tube food hilarious and fascinating. And now I send her photos of any tube foods I see. You guys have more tube foods than we do? I guess we do. I mean, honestly, the first thing I think of besides toothpaste, there's some kind of candy that was in like a toothpaste type package and you squeeze it. It was like a gel. I do buy ginger in the tube now. I hate dealing with fresh ginger and like, I hate dealing with it. So I buy the tube of the like pasty ginger and yeah, that's in a tube. You thought this was chocolate and that you were going to enjoy it? I actually like carob. I mean, would I just like make something with carob? No, I guess not. But I did eat a lot of it in my raw days and it was good. Although I was living on fruit. What did I know? Speaking of chocolate, we got some, I don't know if I like it or not, actually. It's the Cocoa Mel chocolate covered toffee. We got that as a Christmas gift. And I like it. I don't know. There's a flavor. I guess it's the coconut. I'm not sure. I'll have to try it again. I've only tried it once. But yeah, there's kind of a flavor that I'm maybe not into. I don't know. We also tried the Trader Joe's like passport box or whatever. I think they're trying to be like that Ticho or whatever that brand is. And they have like the single origin cacao beans and the different chocolates, right? But it's in this cute little box and it's got chocolate from different places and it tells you on the package like this one tastes like this and goes well with this kind of wine. They all taste like chocolate to me. Partner said he can tell a difference, but it could just be the roasting, right? Like some are roasted longer and are more bitter, not necessarily like where the beans are grown. But yeah, to me, it's all dark chocolate. It's fine. It's dark chocolate. It's good. They all taste the same. Oh, and I did find a cheaper coffee that I like. It's the Portland Roasters, I think. They actually had that at Fred Meyer. It's a light roast. And that one, honestly, is just as good to me as the Counterculture. Again, the Counterculture, $23 for a 12-ounce bag of whole beans. This was also a 12-ounce bag of whole beans, $12, which is still more, or maybe it's $12.99. Still more than I would like to spend for a coffee, but not bad. And then I found a Trader Joe's light roast. I got that. Haven't tried it yet. $9.99. So if that one's good, yeah, like I can handle $9.99. Yesterday was the worst Sunday. It's not true. I'm being very dramatic, but partner decided to watch Batman, the Robert Pattinson one, The Batman. I think it's called The Batman. That movie, it's like 2 hours and 40 something minutes long. It's, oh my God, it is so incredibly boring. And there's so many parts that were, I think, unintentionally funny. Like when he, early on in the movie, I think it's when you first, I don't know, I was in and out watching it, but when I first saw Robert Pattinson, Bruce Wayne, not Batman, like he had been Batman and then was in his lair and then like took his thing off and he's just got the black like running down his face and he's got this long hair and he just looks so emo and he's all sad. He doesn't care about anything. He just wants to not do crime. He wants to fight crime and he doesn't care about the money. He doesn't want to meet with his accountants. It doesn't matter. Oh God, it's just insufferable. I did enjoy the scene where he was trying to like parachute down under something and he just fails and eats shit. Who was the Joker at the end? That was the Joker, right? Talking to Paul Dano, talking to the Riddler. And I got the riddles, by the way. I figured them all out on my own. I only saw 2 of them, to be fair. Was a liar do when he's dead? He lies. I didn't say still. It's like, oh, he lies because he like lies down. I got it. What gets more valuable the less of it you have? Friends. Yeah. But I think that was supposed to be the Joker. Who was that? Who's that actor? Do we know that yet? I don't know why I care. It's not like I'm going to see it, although I might. Partner might decide to just watch it. And it's on, and I end up sitting down and watching some of it while I'm doing laundry or whatever. It's so weird. We just had the Christopher Nolan ones. Like, who wants more Batman? Oh, no. When he's running down the building, what is that? Yeah, this movie's grounded. So grounded. There's a part where he's like, towards the end, where he's got the thing hooked on like 2 dudes and it's like pulling up. What? I did enjoy looking at what's her name, though. She's very pretty. Partner was not a fan of her nails, though. He does not like the long nails. I love that they were like sticking out of her like gloves.